Just a couple days left to go until the month of September, of which many people are very much aware that September is a down month for most markets, Bitcoin in particular as well. So I wanted to go through the data today in detail, see, one, if that's true, to the extent that it's true, and then also what to kind of expect based upon that. Anyways, other than that, I want to welcome you back to the Krown Crypto channel. It's a nice little Tuesday morning over here. And it's time for us to just jump right on into the actual price action of the day. So first things first, this is the chart right here of the full history of Bitcoin, and each and every one of these green vertical bars represents a September in Bitcoin's history. I wanted to start off on this particular pane right here just because you will notice that, yes, indeed, there are some wins in September, but if you knew that they looked like this, perhaps, you wouldn't be as impressed, I suspect. So I do just want to make that distinction before we go into the data. But other than that, it is very much true that, yes, out of all 13 prior Septembers in Bitcoin's history, only, if I go to the right chart over here, only 4 of those have actually had positive returns. And like I said, one or two of those, 2 of those were just barely. I mean, I really don't even think that it should count. There is a couple outliers where we did see a return of 22% and a return of 6.25%. Those were certainly the highest, but for the most part, it at best was unchanged besides those particular reads. So going through the data, that would give it about a just under 31% strike rate or win rate for having a positive return. And if we were to take the average of the negative returns, that would be, a loss of about almost 13% at 12.80. So, going back into it, I do want to start to play around with numbers here. Now, first things first, obviously we don't have the end of August just yet. It looks very likely that Bitcoin will be a down month in August. Very, very likely, I'd say. Just a couple days left to go, obviously, but to the extent of how down it'll be, assuming that Bitcoin kind of hangs around this $26,000 pivot for these next 2 days, which I don't think is so far out of the question, honestly. I would say that it'd be reasonable to kind of take this measurement kind of from where Bitcoin is at right now. And what if, it dumped off another 10 to 12%? Well, where would that put Bitcoin? 10% puts Bitcoin at about 23,500. Which actually would be a monthly breakout level, to be fair. And then also about 12 about 80%, right on the actual average, would put Bitcoin at about $23,000. So, is that within the cards? Yeah, definitely. I mean, coming into September, it is rather well known that most markets do struggle. Now, I do want to piggyback this analysis, however, with the long-term analysis that I put out last Monday. I'm going to keep on going back to this one, mainly focus on traditional markets where we have seen in pre-election years that the low was typically set in August or September. So in this case, I do still want to be looking at this from the greater picture as, hey, if Bitcoin does come back down around there, probably would be looking at that as as another opportunity, so to speak. That is more or less relevant for traditional markets, to be fair, as we do know that based off that data for the past 20 years, traditional markets has each and every time made new all-time highs within the market within about a year. Sometimes very, very quickly, sometimes around that year mark. Sometimes a new high was barely any new high at all. In fact, you might even say that right back on over here. Where was it? Before 2008, actually. Yeah, we did see new all-time highs in October, slightly new all-time highs, that is. And wait, I'm on the wrong chart. There we go. Here we go. This would be the one. Did see new all-time highs, but yes, did dump off pretty impressively, a little bit after that. But new all-time highs were indeed had. Obviously, in other cases, we've seen significantly new all-time highs. Of course, these markets are all correlated. I would look at traditional markets, especially SPY, as a much stronger, much stronger index. In this case, compared to Bitcoin. So, if this one does continue on with that long-term relationship, then I would be expecting Bitcoin, it wouldn't mean that Bitcoin still can't come down in September, just to make that 100% clear. What has been a lot more interesting, however, and what we'll do a video on maybe later on, maybe probably in like late September, is Q4 after that time for Bitcoin, which just kind of spoil surprise, typically is generally good, looking for sideways and up. So it's really more or less a survival here as August comes to a close and then September begins. And the question is, how far down could things come in September based off that? So going through it now, I do want to just follow up on yesterday's very, very short-term time frame analysis. Or is there anything to follow up on here? Not much. Bitcoin sideways as fuck, as usual. Holy shit. Absolutely riveting analysis, sir. Again, short term, I do think that it probably has one more try to the downside if I had to guess. But define a try to the downside, maybe down to like range lows, something like that. Could be fair game. I wouldn't necessarily be calling a break. I do think that Bitcoin's probably more or less done here for August, as we do kind of head into it or head into the end of it. Anyways, going through it, we can also go check out stochastic momentum. I didn't even bother putting on the HPDR indicator here because again, it's going to be the same thing. Actually, it's going to be the same thing. Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll bring it up anyways. Maybe we could look at the daily because the daily might be a little bit more interesting. Who knows? Probably, definitely, hopefully. Anyways, I'll bring it up right here. Let me get rid of all this nonsense and we can blow this up a little bit. And yeah, looking at the daily, we can see the bottom side of the current 80% of historic returns range lows is just below 24,800. Top side is unmoved as of the last 2 weeks now, and is currently just above 27,000 bucks. So, no real change as long as Bitcoin's also to be twixt there. So going through it now, we did see a 5-day closure last night. And as we can see, the 5-day stochastic oscillator is coming down to that long-term regression that has been getting the lows since June of 2022. Now, again, when I say lows, I don't mean like all-time lows before going, upwards and always for forever. I just mean like, significant bounces like we do see right here coming off of basically, the beginning of last summer for, almost 40% bounce, not bad at all. Connected with, several of the other major pivot points along the way, including thus far the macro low and also the low that we did see in June. So that will be tested at the end of this period. It does look like that is pretty much inevitable at this point. And we do see that the current momentum pivot coming off of last night's closure is actually 29,730, which I do believe yesterday I do believe that was lower. So if we see the pivot go higher, typically that's a sign that, pressure is to the downside. Now, I still do think that Bitcoin could very easily put in a rally here, somewhere between like 27,500, 28,000 bucks. But I don't know if that, it's not that I don't know that would be enough. Like that would not be enough as of the current rate. So, things are starting to look more and more like into September, there might be another test to the downside. But again, at the end of the day, when I do go back and now reference the hash rate indicator analysis that we've been having for a long time, there still is yet to be a closure below that very critical 25,800-ish region, which does mark that off as a very important low if we do go through the analysis on that. But I won't do that today, on today's video. But I suppose that the hopium for the Boo laws remains alive as long as Bitcoin is closing the weeklies above there. The second that Bitcoin closes the weekly below there, that's at the point where I really do look for that September analysis to play out, probably down to 23,000-ish, let's say, maybe even as low as 21 would kind of be my main areas of interest right there. And I think pretty much everyone's fucking areas of interest, to be honest. This is not like a unique analysis in this case, which makes me very, apprehensive about it because, or anxious about it because, as the old saying goes, when everyone's thinking one way, usually not everyone is right. But then again, it's like there's no one in this fucking market anyway. So it's like the two people who are looking at this market, they kind of agree with each other. Obviously more than two people, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, again, wrapping things up. September bad. September generally bad, especially the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Septembers, all negative returns of at least 3% and as much as 13.5% pretty damn nasty right there. It should be noted, however, that the worst September returns were, in fact, some of the earlier ones. Like the second September that Bitcoin ever saw was minus 37 and a third almost. And the fifth September that Bitcoin saw was minus about 19%. Everything else has been more or less within the single digits, except for that 13.5%, which was the 10th September, which what would that be? 2019. Yeah, 2019 right there. Not great. Anyways, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this video. Yeah, keeping it on the short and sweet side. Again, just a couple days left here. Let me see when it actually does end. Yes, so there's 31 days in August, so Friday will be the first, and then we can get into some more, I think, fun stuff around there. And I still, honestly, would be looking for markets to trade sideways. I still think markets will trade sideways probably even into mid-September, to be honest with you. So other than that, another boring day in crypto land, but there are opportunities arising kind of in the broader market. So I'll leave things right there. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Wednesday.